Football isn't just a game. It is the heartbeat of communities that unites people under one passion and one vision. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Oxygen TV. My name is Sarah Atoj, and tonight I take the delight to host Mr. Teng Deng. With an experience of 10 years in coaching and 15 years in playing professionally in football, Mr. Teng Deng contests for presidency at the South Sudan Football Association 2025. Mr. Teng, welcome to Oxygen TV.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me.
To kickstart our conversation, we would love to get to know more about you, and specifically, how did you come about to find passion in football until you aspired to contest?
So just, I guess, to make the story quite short is I grew up in a football academy in the UK from a really young age. Grew up in the academy. I was there for multiple years from age 9, 10. I worked my way through the academy just like as any aspiring young footballer at that young age, and worked my way through till age 19, 20, and then after that started playing professionally, moved around Europe. I went to Belgium for a few years, went to Mexico for a few years, and then I went to the US, continued there, then slowly transitioned into my coaching background. And then after 2018, I moved back to the UK and then joined the club there and continue. So that's a brief history of from playing, transitioning to coaching.
Okay, so what has been your experience as a football player and then transitioning into a coach?
I think the biggest challenges I'd probably say is, as a player, you're preparing consistently for yourself, as all you care about is you performing well. But as a coach, you have 25, 26, 20, sometimes 30 players that you need to make sure that you manage. And that's the biggest difference. It's not only, and once I got into coaching, I realized that it's not only the football side of things, there's so many things external, because there's a range of players when you're coaching, maybe from the age of 16, 17, all the way up to 30 plus. And they all have different challenges. They have families, some are young, they transition into adulthood. So you have to manage all those emotions, expectations, and making sure you set a high bar consistently, especially within the professional sport, because now it's a job. It's not, you're not doing it for fun. These players and coaches, you're being paid for your job, so everything has to be done to a high standard. If not, then we say thank you very much and you move on to another location.
Okay, I want us to conversate about relating football and the society and the community. Football is an aspect that brings people together.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think is the importance of football and sports in general in uniting and also shaping a narrative of unity amongst people?
I think sports it's an equalizer. There's no, your background doesn't necessarily matter. It's what you can do on the pitch. And once you're on those white lines, you're purely judged on the effort that you can do yourself as an individual. You're not judged based on previous experiences and what the external influence has. So it's the only thing I'd probably say, sports that can bring people together, and it unifies people. Regardless of where you come from, you make friends in sports. I've got friends from age 10, 11, 12 that I'm still friends now with because of sports. Because there's a common objective in football, whether it's basketball, whether it's running, there's a common objective. At the end of 90 minutes, the objective is to beat the opposite team, and you're working together cohesively with a group of people in order to win. So I think that's one of the main aspects I'd probably say take away from playing it and coaching it, to be honest.
Speaking about you contesting for presidency 2025, what inspired you? What is the motive that is pushing you to contest? And what do you think are your goals for this specific role?
So I think obviously I'm from diaspora. I've grown up in the UK, but we went there at a young age. I think that's one thing I really need to address. When we left here originally, it wasn't because we wanted to leave South Sudan or Sudan at the time before it divided. We left because of the circumstances. There was war, the circumstances weren't a good environment. So my parents decided it's best for their individual family to leave because they're in a good position to take us over there. But now that the country's at peace, we've been away for how many years, the objective wasn't for us to live there in Europe or wherever we are and then come back at 78 years old in a coffin and then get buried in a village. That's not the objective. We're now young enough, we have the experience, and it's good to be home. My cousins are here, my friends are here, and I want to contribute the stuff that I've learned outside of here and bring it back home. So that's the first thing, I think. So when sometimes I have these questions, why do you want to come here? Why do you want to come here? I do have a comfortable life there, but there's also that pride and nationalism that I have, that I want to contribute to my nation, you know. So, because no matter what I do there, you'll never really fully feel at home, right? I think that's the first bit. And then the second bit, I think in terms of the question that you said, kind of really my plans for the nation is, me personally and others, close friends of mine, we've kind of been inspired by what basketball has done. You know, in a very short spell of time, they've come in, with the right people, the right resources, they've been able to really elevate the image of our nation, you know. And I honestly believe that football is a bigger sport than it is basketball, because everybody plays it. From young to old, it's something that brings communities together. You go around Juba, you go to every neighborhood, every school, you'll see people playing consistently. So to get back to the point of why I wanted to run is, we want to improve the image. I want us to be a powerhouse in East Africa over the next few years. I want us to be able to go to the African Cup of Nations and do well, and eventually maybe go to the World Cup and do well as a nation. And there's a lot of us outside of this country and within the country, and I feel with my experience, I can drive, at least at this stage now, I can drive the nation to winning, you know. And because we've had such a dark history for so long, and a lot of us, I guess the youth or the younger generation, we're at a stage of peace, so we want things to move forward. We want to do well in sports. We want to do well in other things. We want to compete like other countries. You know, our fathers, great-grandfathers, they've done their job. Now it's our turn to move the country forward. So I think that's why, with my experience and the stuff I've done in the last few years, I feel like I'm the right person for the job.
Wonderful. I was actually just about to ask you, why do you think you are the right person for this job?
Yeah.
And you've highlighted that your experience is a push for you to be able to take this task.
Yeah.
Now let's speak about the current association.
Yes.
And how much you could be knowing about it.
Yeah.
And also why, or what do you think you could address? And how do you think you could make a change if you become 2025 president for the association? So
there's a couple of things. I think I'm a person that like to do things properly. So first of all I have no grudges against the current guy or the previous guy. They've done the best of their ability. So, you know, we say thank you, they move on. And when I am in a position of power, there's a couple of things that I do want to address. The stadium is a big thing for me, you know, because we're playing some of our games away now. We're playing in Uganda, we're playing in Kenya, and some of our locals and people here are not able to enjoy the games. And our people here love football. If you're guaranteed you open the stadium will be full, supporting our fans. And when you have that fan support, it really encourages the players, and there's almost that national pride. So that's the first thing that I want to do. Make sure it's open, is a good FIFA standard, and then later on we can build bigger and so on. So that's the first point. I think the second point is infrastructure. So when I say infrastructure, in terms of our training facilities, our national center, you know, having pitches all over in all the 10 states, you know, these are big things, because not everybody's based in Juba. We might have players in Upper Nile, in Barkazal, Eastern Equatoria, Western Equatoria, you know, all the states, you know, including the BA. I think having facilities in those areas will now identify some of the best players, and having a close relationship as the future president, having a close relationship with these federations. Now they can send 2, 3, 4 players from every state. Now we have the best of the country. And when we have the best of the country, I think we can start doing well. And it's an inclusive sport. It's not like basketball where there's certain skills required, where with football, it's purely based on talent, you know, and height doesn't necessarily play a big factor there. So I think we can include everybody and we can move forward. That's the second part, I think, of infrastructure. Infrastructure also includes having the right coaches, training coaches, referees, and then also exporting players, you know. Some players are here and maybe moving them to other countries, so they can start making money, so they can have good careers. Because what happens is, once they do well, they come back home, they support their families, and they contribute to their economy here. And then the third thing, I think, is academies and having a league in this country. So our league, we have a league now, but I think if we have a strong league where there's 20 teams, and let's say each state has their own team, and there's a few teams in Juba competing against each other, it creates rivalry. And when there's that rivalry, it creates success, because people want to be better than the other team. And then it just creates an environment that improves the whole nation, right? So now when we're going for selection, we're not only looking externally, we're going to Europe, we're going to the US, Australia, wherever it is to look for players. We can also look for talent here and then push them up. And then the guys that are outside, they mix in, and that becomes one group of people, and we can move forward in one direction. And ultimately, my question always is, if now or later on, is what is it that I can do, or anybody who's coming into the Football Federation, how can you help the nation move forward? If there's something you can contribute, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're South Sudanese, I'll do everything I can to try to help you and elevate the country. If it's not helping the nation move forward, then, unfortunately, we can't, work together in that aspect. So that's always my question.
In your second to third point, you spoke about inclusivity.
Yes.
And you mentioned that football is for everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, this will drive me to female inclusion in football participation. South Sudan is just developing, I can say, a very young and fresh country. And the narrative around football specifically dominates. It's dominated by males.
Yeah,
and how would you personally contribute to more female inclusion in football?
So my plan is, as I guess future president, would be the same amount of resources that go into the men would be going to the women. So now when we're building these academies in all these states, wherever the men, whether it's age 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to the seniors, will have a mirror image with boys and girls, and we'll try to do what we can in order to try to support them. Because I know a lot of parents are going to have the question, okay, what about the education side of it? We don't want them to play football. We have a culture here that, okay, the girls should only be staying home and so on. But I found that sometimes the girls are very receptive. And because they're at some of them here are such a foundation level, if you come and give them expertise and professional help and advice, I feel the acceleration would be a lot quicker than the boys, because the boys already play it. They know the rules of the game, and boys are stubborn as it is. Young boys, this is what they do. So to go to your question, I'm willing to support the women's side 100% equally, because if they start having success on the women's side, all that does is just it shines a brighter light on South Sudan, because you don't want just the men doing well and the women not doing well, So we want to try to push it so the women are doing well, we're doing well, and as a nation, because all they're going to see is the badge necessarily, This is South Sudan, they're doing well, whether it's men or women. So I'm 100% behind it. I support it. And again, I've experienced women's football in the UK and in the US, and it's huge, in terms of resources. Some of them are professional, they make a living from it. So it's something that our girls can make a career out of. So it's something I support strongly.
As a person who has experienced football
Yes.
in a different side of the world, not in South Sudan,
Yeah.
and now that you come to the country and you look to the football arena,
Yeah.
the comparison,
Yeah.
how is that gap? What does it look like from the outside world?
The gap is big. It's really, really big, because I've grown up in the UK, and we have the Premier League. Is probably one of the biggest, probably is the biggest league in the world in terms of resources and salaries and infrastructure and stuff like that. So the gap is big, but I think the first step is you compare yourself to what's around you, rather than kind of saying, okay, that's the bigger goal. Now we're in East Africa. Can we be better than Kenya? Can we be better than Uganda? Can we be better than Congo, Zambia, Tanzania, Sudan, Egypt? This is your immediate issues. So now if we are known as, I guess, the dominant team, both on the men and women's side in East Africa, now we can start competing with those in West Africa, and we take care of home first. And then once you do that, now you can go to a broader area. You start playing against the Asians, the Americans, the Europeans, and so on and so on. So I think the gap is big, but I think we can leapfrog that, because we're here, but there's also blueprints worldwide where there's a blueprint for success, for example, in England or Germany or France or Brazil or whatever. And this blueprint is available everywhere. So it's almost, let's implement what they have. Don't settle for the less. And in terms of infrastructure again, and in terms of training, because we're at the bottom, I think we can aim for absolute excellence and try to really push the country forward. So we have nothing to fear in between. So I think that I would probably say that's kind of my point. I think it's, let's focus home first, and then we grow outwards, rather than looking at the biggest leagues and then doing the reverse.
Wonderful. South Sudan's basketball
Yes.
broke through, and it created a very big impact
Yes.
around the world, not just in Africa. So do you see that South Sudan's Football Association has the potential to also do the same or something similar?
Absolutely. I think with the right resources and the right direction, like I said, I'm using myself as an example. With the experience that I think, again, I've ran a university program for 3 years. I was a director of football there. So I know how to move an organization forward. And that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to run. But I definitely think we have the potential. We have the fans. We're a young nation. A lot of people don't really expect too much from us. So we have less pressure. We're the underdogs. But with enough resources, with the guys here and the guys in the diaspora, I definitely think in a short period of time we can replicate what basketball has done. And it's made us proud. And it's also one of the motivations that's got me to try to help my nation. There may be others out there that can help with this program and this process that I'm trying to do. And I welcome those ideas,
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Teng. Now, in your best words, can you articulate your vision for the South Sudan Football Association? And how would your leadership focus on exploiting the potential?
Okay. I think I'll answer the second question first. So I think in terms of leadership, I think, one, we're a young nation. Two, our potential is limitless. There's no cap on it. There's no real expectation at the moment. So I think because we have such a limitless potential, we can excel so much quicker than if we had previous bars or experiences that we had somewhere to compare to, right? But in terms of my vision for the national team and for the country as a whole, I really want us to be one of the best teams in Africa. That's the first step, It's let's be the dominant team in East Africa. Then we slowly progress and see if we can be one of the heavyweights in Africa over a long period of time. And you want to make your country proud. This is my home country. This is where I was born. My family is here, like I said. My cousins are here. My support system is here. So you want the best for where you come from. Everybody does it for their home nation around the world. Why not us? And I really think there is no limit to how far we can take it. As long as the resources are there, as long as the leadership is there, and everybody has the right direction, our intention is correct, I think we can really make noise across the continent and across the world.
I think this has been a fruitful conversation that we've spoken about different aspects and angles relating back to football, how it supports the community and brings a peaceful cohesion of people together, and also the potential that South Sudanese youth and generally South Sudanese have. We've spoken about people in diaspora having experience and they can exploit their energy in order to bring it back home and to invest whatever they have so that they can support different spheres of their professionalism and passions as well. Now, as you wind up this conversation, what would you tell all South Sudanese youth regarding following their passions, doing the things that they love, and also investing back in their home country?
Well, I'll start with the guys in the diaspora. I think we kind of have to be realistic. Once you've gone through your education, or whether you've gone through a trade and you've learned your skill and you've spent a couple of years and you're now in a stable position, right? And let's say you're in your late 20s or you're in your early 30s, I think maybe that's the right time to kind of bring your skills and your talent back home to really exploit whatever, whether it is sports or whether it is business or whatever, or whether it's in teaching. I think once we get to that certain point, because our generation, our parents and our grandparents, the objective is for us to fight for our country, for us to be free, right? And we are their kids, right? Me and you, we're their kids, and they want our country to move forward and excel and become better, right? So those of us, the message to the guys in the diaspora, once you've done whatever you need to do and you're in a stable place, you come back home and try it. We're not saying to you, come back straight away. One leg in, one leg out. Just come have a look, see your family, see what's going on, how can you contribute, what can you do to support your country and your economy, and then eventually there'll be a slow transition from wherever you are to here, or it may be a case where you are here and you go back and forth until you've established yourself. But I don't want to kind of say, okay, just leave whatever you're doing completely, come here, because Juba can be a tough environment. You may run out of resources, you may run out of money, accommodation, transport, all these things. So I want you to be wise about it with your transition. Do it slowly, but eventually do it. Don't be scared to do it, because this is your home nation. Those stresses that you have outside, when you come home, you're surrounded with people. You have the social aspect. You eat with people. Our people, this is what we do naturally. So some of the concepts that we've learned outside of this out of this continent. Some are good, some are bad, right? And the objective really is, once you've done what you need to do, bring your talents back home. Give it a go. Improve your nation, you know. You'll be rewarded a lot more socially, even financially, in every aspect here, because it's your home nation. You have a stake in it, right? It belongs to you, a part of it belongs to you. So there's that pride, there's that nationalism that's there. So I think that's what I would say to those coming abroad and coming in. The message to, I guess, the youth over here, I think, not necessarily only just to the youth, but I think to the parents of the youth and to the uncles and to the aunties, I think there is a career in football, you know. Not only playing, there's a coaching aspect, there's the video side, there's the doctors, there's the nutritionists, you know. And we want to create that. We want to create eventually a sector where you can do something that you're passionate about and make a living from it and be able to take care of your family, you know. But those skills take years and years and years to be able to establish. So my thing is, you encourage the boys and the girls, because the girls also can have a career in this industry. It's not only the players, there's many aspects within the football industry. And encourage them. It's a long-term thing. They may start from age 9 to 21, 22. You might not see results, but once they get to 23, 24, 25, if they've been doing it for that long period of time, they start getting rewarded for it. And that one person you're supporting might be the person that's supporting your whole family. So yes, education is important, but don't neglect the other stuff as well, because they might have passion in that, and there might be 1 or 2 kids that really push the country forward, and they're the ones that might represent us outside their country, and they may be the success. So encourage the kids, don't dismiss their ambition and their drive to want to follow some of these careers that may not be careers for you as adults when you were younger, but now these careers that these, you know, the younger generation that may be younger than me, even my generation, they make a living from it, you know, and we've seen it through social media, we've seen it through other professions, so push them into it, let them try it, you know. They have nothing to lose. If things doesn't work out, they can always go back to the education side of it, or, you know, follow a different career path. But they've got to try. They've really got to try, and we've got to encourage it. Parents have to encourage it. Family have to encourage it, especially if they have a passion for it. So that's my message to it. I guess don't be afraid to try it, because there are rewards at the end of it, you know. So
to wind up, I'd just love to ask you, what is the strategy of your campaign till that time?
So I think I'm a people-focused person. So for me, firstly, is I want to sit down. I want an opportunity to sit down with all the leaders in all the states, you know, the guys, the heads of the federation, and sit down and actually listen. What is going on in Upper Nile? What is going on in Barkazal? What is going on here in Equatorial? What is going on in the BA? And all these people, whether we meet here or whether I go to them, I really want to find out from them, what is the lack? What is it? And then from that, we can kind of work together and see, okay, well, you don't have A, B, and C. Maybe I can do A, B, and then you do C, D, and so on. So for me, the initial stage is the conversation, right? Sit down, let's talk to each other, let's be realistic in where we are and how can we move forward. So that's really the biggest message. That's the first stage. And then from there, we can build on the conversation and try to move the country forward. But the first question will always be to all of them, those that are in power and those that are aspiring to go in power, how can you help South Sudan as a federation, as a football team, on the men's and the women's side? How can you help that move forward? If you have the heart and the desire to be able to move that forward, then we can consistently work together as a group. You know, I'm open to everybody and everybody as long as the nation develops. That's my biggest thing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Teng. It has been an insightful conversation, and I believe that I've left to this place and I've learned actually so much more about football. Yeah. Viewers of Oxygen TV, this has been a conversation with Mr. Teng Deng, aspiring to contest for the South Sudan Football Association 2025. He's a professional player and also an experienced football coach. With this, we wind up the conversation. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and also follow up Oxygen TV for all our latest updates and gigs. Thank you so much.
This is Oxygen. Breathe in.